Well, look at the face here now. This is the hard part of any Tour de France. You've led for over 168 kilometres, and you are now trying to ride the whole field off your back wheel. Walter Benetton hasn't won a race since he won the Grand Prix Le Telegram in August 2003. It would be very nice to be first to Strasbourg.
Well, it would be very nice to be first to Strasbourg. He may survive a little bit longer. Those are the two guys that got halfway across the gap. They are 10 seconds behind Walter Benetton. But looking at the attitude and the position they've got there, Phil, I think they've given up. That's Wegman on the left-hand side, Portal on the right-hand side. They know the main field is on their tail. They're just going to leave now one man at the front. Walter Benetton, who I'm not happy to be the bringer of doom to a situation like this, but he's going to get caught.
Well, only one remains now. Portal, Wegman, get himself cleaned up, ready for the presentation for the King of the Mountains. Meanwhile, now they're going to have to try and hang on to this field as it starts to get into top gear for the finish. Sprinters don't race for second place, so they want Benetton back in the fold here. Only a win is good enough for the sprinters. The drive is now on. They know one man has done what they always fear, tried to beat them to the finish.
Well, when you look at the one man who's at the front of the race, Walter Benetton, he can probably ride on his own for a sustained period after being in the breakaway for a long time, for about 46 or 47 kilometers an hour. But what you'll find behind is when the teams of the sprinters start working, start using the slipstreaming effect, especially because there's a lot of riders prepared to come to the front and set the pace, they can bring the average speed of the main field up to 55 kilometers an hour over this last 12 kilometers. They can snap up a minute's advantage on Walter Benetton in the click of your fingers.
Well, we're looking at a Frenchman. He's still on German soil. He'll soon be back in France, Walter Benetton. And you know, the French have not had a lot to cheer in the Tour de France since Lance Armstrong started winning it every year. But today they've had a marvellous ride. They've had a lot of riders in the breakaway moves, and now they're trying to win the stage here. The gap is still 35 seconds. It's still not over as we race now into the last 12 kilometres of the day.
Looking here at Walter Benetton, he really is a very experienced rider. He's got his hands in the middle of the handlebars. It's a very precarious thing to do. Don't try that trick at home, because what he's trying to do is make himself adopt a fairly low-profile time trial position, gets out of the saddle. You can almost feel the urgency of the pressure, and what he's thinking is, if I can just get into the outskirts of Strasbourg, get into the streets of the town, there may be a little bit of confusion in the main field behind, and I may just outfox the sprinters. But he knows, I think, in the back of his mind, he's just prolonging the agony, waiting for the main field to chase, because behind Phil, they still haven't really turned on the speed of the sprinters.
Well, I tell you, it's at this stage, Paul, commentators really want to start cheering, really, and bringing him on home, because it's a brilliant move. He's been out in the front since the third kilometre of the day. He is now running in to the last 11 kilometres of the day, and he's still out front. And the crowd, this is a motorway. Look where the crowd come from. They're watching the race go by. Looking over the shoulder, the race director's car, they're still very much out of sight. We're looking on the right at the drive being done by the Quick-Step team here, and with a lot of help from Johan van Summeren behind, and in front indeed, the Lotto boys helping out here.
Big faces of concentration on the front end of the main field. They're all waiting. They know that they're about to cross swords, and they're about to put into position some of the fastest men in the world of professional cycling. Walter Benetton is just surviving at the moment at the front end of this bike race, but if he looks back, he can see the whole of this main field. Also moving up there, a few pink jerseys of T-Mobile. On the front, it's still a lot of work being done by Johan van Summeren, but shortly, I'm sure we will have to see the change of colour of the guard on the front end of the peloton go to that light blue and grey jerseys of Quick-Step, and of course of Tom Boonen, but I can't see Tom Boonen anywhere near the front end of the main field.
Well, it's 31 seconds on the screen in our earphones from the race. They're saying 25. Who cares? He's still in the lead, and he's still driving on here, and there's still nobody over his shoulder. We must have gone under a little bridge there to lose that picture. Maybe not. Oh yes, we did. There we are. He's still driving on. Every little rise in the road now hurts, and he's got to go at 100% of effort. No more shadow boxing. It's win or finish last now for Walter Benetton today.
Well, it doesn't matter for Walter Benetton. He's got to find a little bit of 10% more. There's the world champion now moving into position. Got a couple of teammates around him. Tom Boonen for me, is currently a little bit too far back. He needs to be up in the top 10 or 15 places. And I think the teammates there have decided to say to him, look, Tom, we're going to go for this sprint. Let's move to the front.
Oh boy, a few deep breaths and a quick drink, but he keeps the pressures on now. We're heading towards 9 kilometres to go. This is the last time bonus sprint of the day. He's done pretty well in that regard today. He has won 10 seconds out of the available 12. If he can just hang on, he'll sweep this one up as well. So that'll keep him high up overall. But of course, once he gets caught by the peloton, a few seconds become minutes as you get spat out the back of that big group.
Yes, he's not too worried about what his position is going to be overall. Here he comes through the sprint point here at 9 kilometres to go. Maximum points for him, 6 seconds in the back of the pocket as well. But he started the day a long way down overall. Look at this, George Hincapie's going for it. What a very clever move by George Hincapie. And look at the Crédit Agricole rider there trying to get himself the bonus. But for George Hincapie, that's 3rd place and 2 seconds. George Hincapie has just snatched the yellow jersey here away from the shoulders of Thor Hushovd. It's going to be a big battle now to see who can perform in the finish at the moment. Hincapie was very upset yesterday at not getting the yellow jersey. He missed out for 73 hundredths of a second, and there it just goes to show at the Tour de France, you have to be alert every kilometre of the way. What a very clever move by George Hincapie there. Nobody, I don't think, was expecting that at all. Well, Walter Benetton has taken maximum points, and he now has around about 200 meters. But look at the way his body is starting to talk to us. His body is saying to us here, Walter is screaming out in agony. His body wants him to stop, but when there's a slight chance you can win a stage of the Tour de France, it carries on. The body can go that little 10% more all of the time. There is the Rhine. He's crossing the border now. Behind him is Germany. When he comes off this bridge, he will be back in France. And there is the main field. There he sits up. The glory of the day for Walter Benetton is all over right now. He's back in the fold. His dream has just been broken. Well, now you have to certainly get yourself back into composition. The sprinters now have got to get themselves organised. But that was a very clever move by George Hincapie.
And the peloton now changing shape all of the time here as we get inside 6 kilometres to go now. And don't forget that out there, a lot of these riders are wearing those polar heart rate monitors. Masayo Tosartes at the moment, I can tell you, is beating at 175 beats per minute, which is only just about 10 beats off his maximum for the day. So he's under pressure,
well,
and he's going to have to lead out his teammates shortly.
That's why he's under pressure right now. He's moved to the front. He's somewhere in the gaggle of riders between 15th and 20th. He's thinking about the position, of course, of his man Tom Boonen, the world champion. There's the yellow jersey. Thor Hushovd enjoyed his day in yellow this afternoon. He probably wants to prolong the experience, because last time he got the yellow jersey a couple of years ago, Phil, he only wore it for a single day. Today, I think he'd like to keep it for just a little bit longer. 5 kilometres to go.
Under the banner at 5, back onto French soil now. The crowds tell you the way the riders have to go towards the finish. We're racing into the avenue of the Black Forest here.
Theoretically, over the last kilometre, there are no real dangerous corners. Most of the corners in the last 3 kilometres are what we call sweepers in the sport of professional cycling. The kind of corners you hardly have to touch your brakes on. The riders will be going round at close to 50 kilometres an hour. Still a little bit dodgy. Milram now taking over control at the front end of the main field. Liquigas getting themselves sorted out as well. There may be Magnus Bagstad, the big Swede, is going to have a go. Stuart O'Grady is right in the middle there as well. O'Grady, let's not forget, is now 6 seconds off the lead of George Hincapie. He too will be looking for a top 3 finish.
I think this is a Christian Nice of Germany on the front for Milram, because his object now is to keep the pace so high nobody can get off the front of this bunch and nip away to the finishing line, because the sprinters want the pack to stay together and take each other on. 4 kilometres left.
4 kilometres left. You've got to think about the sprinters now. Tom Boonen is right up there. He will be right in the middle. We're thinking about Eric Zabel as well for Team Milram. This is at the back of the race. This looks like Danilo De Luca going backwards.
Well, this is a big surprise. Danilo De Luca doesn't want to give away time here. He's a man for the future of this race. Don't worry about his prologue time, but he's sat up and gone off. Now, that is not good news.
Well, he's had a little bit of an infection over the last couple of days. He has been on antibiotics, and he's going to lose himself probably a couple of minutes before the end of today's stage. Still a bit of confusion at the front. There's a Phonak rider right up there. I wonder if Robbie Hunter's going to have a go.
I think they're all going to... This is going to be one terrific sprint finish. Good luck to the commentator. No, I didn't mean that. Right, we're going into the last 3 kilometres of the race now. It's a bit narrow there, isn't it? There is the 3 kilometres banner now. Remember, it's only the last kilometre where we're dead straight. Rabobank now for Oscar Freire, a 3-time world champion, trying to drag him into the pictures. And Lundqvist there, the champion of Sweden, also the youngest man in the race, sitting third wheel.
Well, Oscar Freire is a very enigmatic rider. You know, sometimes he can win races, other times he's completely injured, but he has been world champion on 3 occasions. A little bit of chaos now. There is Valverde in the white jersey. I cannot see for the moment. Tom Boone and his team don't seem to have got themselves under control here. Everybody all over the road now. The first sprint of the day in the Tour de France. Everybody's nervous. Everybody's ready to try and get victory. It's absolute chaos out there. You dare not touch your brakes. You touch your brakes at this moment now, you'll find yourself losing 150 places in the main field.
Well, it's who can pick the best wheel now, because there is no one team, as we suspected, can control this race. There's no team discovery. There's no silver bullet team of the years gone by of Fassa Bortolo. So the sprinters are going to look for the strong men and try and pinch them off the other sprinters.
Well, no organisation, still no one team dominating this as we inside now 2 kilometres to go to the finish. They're all over the road. There's the green jersey of Hincapie in around about 10th or 15th place. There's the yellow jersey of Thor Hushovd. He's down into about 10th place. You know, he's got to do something special. Thor Hushovd, I think, today may well come up with the goods and try and get himself a top 3 place. I still could not see Robbie McEwen, but you know what? For Australia, that's not really a problem.
No, that's absolutely normal. The 2 riders on the front right now are leaky gas riders trying to get Magnus Bagstedt, the Swedish rider who lives in Wales, in Great Britain, to the front. As they come off that bottom bend now, our camera's going to have to stay away from the riders. It's fire all the way here. And Bagstedt is in fact about 6 riders down at the moment. He's not onto the wheel of his teammate. Milram are trying to get Zabel. They are the light blue. And Bernardi's team are also getting in the play here now. This is flat out. A little shot here. Thor Hushovd and Zabel's off to the right. 3 men down dead centre. 4 men because Oscar Freire is there as well. As they come round, that's the last corner. Take it wide. Breathe deeply into the final kilometre.
1 kilometre is an awful long way to go in a sprint like this. Erik Zabel is in a superb position up there into about 3rd. Oscar Freire a little bit too much to the front for me. In 2nd place, Zabel just pausing a little. He's gone to the front. He doesn't want to be there, but you can see now the yellow jersey moving forward. He has a teammate with him. Thor Hushovd is up there into 2nd. Who is in 3rd place? But it's Robbie McEwen.
It's Robbie McEwen. This man appears like he takes the invisible cloak off in Harry Potter. He's suddenly sat there. 3rd wheel now, McEwen. Zabel is 4th wheel. Thor Hushovd is riding. Remember, no yellow jersey. Has won a stage wearing yellow since Mario Cipollini in 1997. Breaking on the far right now, we're trying to get Gerolsteiner, and the world champion in the white jersey goes. He's the man to beat. Zabel tries to take his wheel, and McEwen there boxed a little bit. Tom Bonen looks over his shoulder. He's got McEwen, his worst man, on his wheel now, as he had Jimmy Casper coming on the far right now, and now it's Zabel trying to go with Jimmy Casper here now, and Brunen I think is beaten. Tommy Brunen, it may be a French day this, as on the far right of our picture there's a battle, but it's going to be on the line. A win for Jimmy Casper, I think. And if that's the way the Tour de France is going to go, that is without doubt the finest victory. And I hate to say it, we never mentioned him all day until he hit the line. What a win.
What a win. He was in the right place. He battled it out with the kings of the sport, the kings of the road, the fastest men in the sport of professional cycling. Tom Bonen was completely caught out. No team around him. He was waiting to start his sprint, but for Tom Bonen, he didn't have anyone there to lead him out. But when you saw Jimmy Casper, he took the risk. He saw the moment. He just grabbed it. Erik Zabel wasn't too far away. Let's just have a look at this one more. You can see on the front there, Tom Bonen looking over his shoulder. Yellow jersey's gone down. I don't know when this happened. The yellow jersey has gone down.
Well, we never saw this. There was a twitch. We never saw the crash, and he's going to have stitches in that arm. Well, what a tragedy. Thor Hushovd is a sprinter. He mixes it with the best. He looked to be good. We did not see the crash. I think it may have happened, Paul, after the crossing of the line. I'm not too sure exactly where he is, but I think he's after the line here.
Well, it was after the line that Thor Hushovd went down, but it was actually during the sprint that he was injured. If you look at the replay here, he's on the extreme left of shot, close to the barriers. Close enough for someone to hit him in the head with what might be a camera and cut him across the arm with one of the thousands of giveaway green cardboard hands, which embarrassingly for the Tour are handed out by the company that sponsors the sprints. The resulting cut was bad enough to merit a trip to casualty. Well, in the midst of all that chaos, there was a stage winner, and it was the Frenchman Jimmy Casper of Cofidis, just ahead of Robbie McEwen and Erik Zabel. Hussoft came in 9th, but despite his fan trouble, still managed to beat the world champion Tom Burnham, who had a disastrous sprint. All the other big names finished in the main group, including George Hincapie in 23rd place.